Picture an Ice Age winter. A human locks eyes with a 200-pound wolf. The tension spikes. But then, the wolf simply sniffs the air, turns around, and walks away. Despite what pop culture suggests, early humans didn't walk out into the snow, hand out a piece of dried jerky, and start petting wild wolf pups. Humans and apex predators lived in a world where they were locked in a zero-sum competition for the same prey. We were rivals for every calorie on the landscape. Yet, instead of constantly killing each other, these two enemies managed to negotiate a calculated secret treaty without ever speaking a single word. Understanding how this unspoken truce actually worked forces us to rethink the assumption that early humans survived the ancient world strictly through dominance and violence. In the Pleistocene epoch, calories were a strict currency. Every action drained your metabolic bank account, making survival a raw economic equation of energy conservation. Wild predators understand this math implicitly. They do not pick fights for pride or sport. They only engage in combat if a caloric payout is practically guaranteed. Attacking an armed human is a terrible investment. A minor spear wound can cause infection, leading to starvation. The early human is running the exact same biological math. Avoiding a fight entirely preserves precious hunting energy and prevents a fatal mauling. This initial mutual avoidance was a calculated standoff, a strategy where doing nothing was the most efficient way for both sides to stay alive. As humans and wolves tracked the same migrating herds, they spent generations sharing overlapping territories. Over time, pure avoidance evolved into a state of hypervigilant observation. Wolves began to read our body language. They tracked a human's walking speed and the intensity of direct eye contact to gauge if we were actively hunting them or just passing through. Humans returned the favor. We learned to track the specific angle of ear twitches and tiny shifts in their posture to calculate their immediate threat level. This standoff eventually broke because of a caloric loophole. Early humans were incredibly messy eaters. After a successful hunt, we regularly left behind piles of highly nutritious bone scraps and offal. Smaller opportunistic predators began exploiting this waste. Stealing a free meal was finally worth the risk of getting close to humans. Once proximity no longer signaled an immediate fight to the death, the barrier that kept our species apart for millennia began to dissolve. Fast forward a few thousand years, and physical evidence excavated from ancient human campsites shows a permanent shift in how our two species interacted. Biologists call this self-domestication. Humans didn't actively tame wolves. Instead, specific wolves chose to live on the fringes of human camps. Securing these scraps required a specific temperament. Only wolves with lower adrenaline and reduced fear stayed, passing on their traits. Generation after generation, the survival reward for tolerance compounded, eventually rewriting their genetic code and altering the biology of every descendant. The archaeological record suggests that by prioritizing tolerance over aggression, the two species had inadvertently set the evolution of the protodog in motion. This biological truce triggered visible physical changes. Protodogs developed shrinking snouts, altered brain structures, and even floppy ears. Our greatest survival advantage in the wild was our capacity for observation, cooperation, and striking unspoken treaties with our rivals. That ancient, high-stakes agreement, forged in the freezing mud of the Ice Age, endured, eventually moving from the frozen tundra directly into the safety of our homes. And today, the legacy of the most dangerous predator truce in history is fast asleep in the living room, dreaming about a wedge of cheese.